This is RTV6 News at 7, working for you.
Now at 7, winter weather is back in central Indiana. Today we once again saw wind, snow, and cold temperatures.
Let's check in now with Storm Team 6 Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory to see what's in store for the new year. Kevin.
And we've still got all three. That wind is still gusting over 30 miles per hour. These are our current temperatures, 36 in Castleton. Remember, yesterday at this time, temperatures were in the mid to upper 50s with the rain settling in, 34 in Fishers. Just want to add to this now the wind chill. That's what it feels like. That's what you need to dress for. There's our first wind chill in the teens. Feels like 19 in Peru. The wind tonight and tomorrow, although it calms down a little bit, will still gust to 30 miles per hour. 32 mile per hour gust at this moment in Peru, 32 in Lafayette. The peak gust that I've seen today, 48 miles per hour. Right along Interstate 69 Pendleton, up toward Anderson. This will go through Muncie. A few flurries. That's really about it. We'll wait until a little system pinwheels through tomorrow, bringing with it the chance for some very light snow. Through the evening hours, our temperatures will not change much. The wind will be strong as well. Then during the day tomorrow, we'll have the timeline for a little better chance for some light accumulating snow. I'll finish this coming up.
Kevin, we'll see you soon. Thank you. Tonight, Metro Police are investigating a deadly crash and working to make sure all officers follow department policy when it comes to crashes. It began when officers with the Criminal Gun Intelligence Center tried to stop a suspect involved in a federal firearms investigation. IMPD says the suspect took off and led officers on a short chase from the Far East Side into Hancock County. Eventually, a Lawrence officer started following the suspect. The vehicle circled back into Marion County and ran a stoplight at Pendleton Pike and Oaklandon Road. IMPD says the suspect hit another car that had nothing to do with the chase. That driver was pronounced dead at the hospital. A passenger in that vehicle was hurt but is expected to be okay. IMPD's investigation continues, and they're asking anyone with information about this crash to get in touch with Crime Stoppers.
Flu cases are already on the rise as we head into peak flu season. Doctors, health officials, and daycares are working to protect patients and children. So tonight we are taking a look at why you don't want to skip out on getting the flu shot and how experts work to make sure it's effective every flu season.
Last year was considered a fairly severe flu year, and again this year it's tracking pretty similarly.
Going into 2020 and peak season for the flu, experts say the shot could help because it is formulated to defend against the strains of the virus that health professionals deem the biggest risk for the upcoming season.
We use strains and we use information from the Southern Hemisphere, Australia and other countries in the Southern Hemisphere, and look to see what flu strains are circulating in that area. It's not, again, 100% guaranteed that the same strains from the Southern Hemisphere will be circulating in the Northern Hemisphere, but it's usually a pretty good indicator.
Dr. James Wood says having the shot puts people in a better position, even if they still get sick.
We know that it's not 100% protective, meaning that people who get the flu shot can still get the flu. But we do know that people that get the flu shot are much less likely to end up with severe illness.
Over at Riley Hospital for Children, there's a checkpoint in place to protect patients. And daycares are not cutting corners either this flu season.
Generally, there's a lot of coughing, sneezing. You know, we're wiping our hands across our faces. They're touching surfaces. They're touching each other. It spreads very quickly. If we're not on top of it, we can lose an entire classroom to the flu.
Karen Crow is the center director at Day Early Learning. She says, fortunately, she has not had any children sick in her care yet, but she's been in the child care field a while, so she knows how serious flu season can get.
We can end up with children who have pneumonia after they pick up the flu, and that can be very devastating.
Devastating because for babies and those with compromised immune system, it can be tough to recover. And the Indiana State Department of Health reports 7 flu-related deaths this year. 5 of those deaths were people 65 and older.
Indiana lawmakers say they are pushing once again for the state to do something about the skyrocketing prices of some life-saving medications. Harry Rybolt says his 39-year-old diabetic son Jeremy died in August after losing his health insurance. Jeremy switched to a cheaper insulin formula that he could buy over the counter. His cause of death was pneumonia combined with diabetes complications. The cost of the 4 most popular types of insulin has tripled over the last decade. Those paying out of pocket spend an average of $450 a month if they need insulin. Harry has a message for those who can do something to lower those prices.
I would look him straight in the eye and hold a picture of my son and tell me that this is acceptable, that he died because he couldn't afford it.
State Representative Robin Shackelford is proposing legislation next week that would cap the cost of insulin at $100 for a 30-day supply. She says insulin prices can be reduced by manufacturers, pharmacy benefit managers, and insurers. We'll let you know when Shackelford's bill is filed and whether it picks up support when the legislative session begins next month.
The city of Muncie will soon have a new police chief and administration that aims to restore the public's trust in the police department. Nathan Sloan will take over on January 1st. He's been with Muncie Police for 18 years, much of it as a detective. Instead of solving cases, now he will be solving some of the agency's biggest problems. Poor morale and turnover are among the top concerns he plans to address. Sloan's arrival comes as federal authorities are investigating several Muncie police officers for alleged police brutality, and the department is also facing several excessive force lawsuits.
Given all of that, how do you move forward?
Well, I think at this point we've really just got to review everything that's going on. We're just coming into things here. So we've got to get our head wrapped around exactly what's gone on and what's going on and see where that leaves us to tell really where we're going to move on from there.
Patrolman Melissa Pease will serve as the deputy chief of the department. Pease and Sloan have worked together on cases as detectives. Both say they are overwhelmed but are excited for the challenge and say personnel changes will happen as part of the transition next year. Another change up in law enforcement leadership, this time in Beech Grove. Michael Maurice is taking over the department. Maurice has been deputy chief of police under Mark Swartz, who will step down on New Year's Day after 37 years with the city. Maurice says he plans to work closely with Beech Grove schools and would like to add more resource officers to improve student safety. He was one of 9 current members of the department to apply for the top job.
A park honoring an iconic Indianapolis leader is getting help from the National Park Service. $750,000 has been promised to help with the construction of the Reverend Charles Williams Park on the north side. The park was established in 2015, but earlier this month, our Call 6 Investigates team showed you that nothing has been built at the site, even though a blueprint was established years ago. The new grant will help with playground equipment, a performance shelter, and trails. The park celebrates the life of Reverend Williams, who led the Indiana Black Expo until his death in 2002 due to a prostate cancer. The funding from the National Park Service is part of a more than $1 million going toward projects in underserved communities across the country.
We're following the latest developments in 2 disturbing attacks in different parts of the country. The 38-year-old man accused of stabbing 5 people at a Hanukkah celebration in New York has been charged with federal hate crimes. Investigators searching the man's home say they found journals with anti-Semitic sentiments and references to Hitler and Nazi culture. The attack happened at the home of a rabbi in a suburb of New York City. Police say the suspect entered the home with a machete and started swinging. His family and lawyers say he has a history of mental illness, but no known history of anti-Semitism.
My impression from speaking with him is that he needs serious psychiatric evaluation. Whether those manifested in anti-Semitism at a moment, I can't tell you.
New York's governor says this was the 13th attack against members of the Jewish community in and around New York City since the beginning of December. He's told state police to increase patrols in Orthodox Jewish neighborhoods.
In Texas, 2 people were killed and 3 more hurt in a shooting at a church near Fort Worth. The gunman was killed by armed parishioners during a Sunday service. ABC's Romina Puga has the latest, including disturbing video showing some of the attack that was captured during a live stream inside the church.
A Sunday service in Texas interrupted after a gunman seen here in the service live stream opened fire. The gunshot sparked panic in the pews, but 6 seconds later, members of the church security team returned fire, killing the shooter, who has now been identified as Keith Thomas Kananen. 2 congregants were killed.
The citizens who were inside that church undoubtedly saved 242 other parishioners.
Church member Jack Wilson is the one who shot and killed the gunman. A former reserve deputy, he'd been teaching other congregants how to shoot as part of the West Freeway Church of Christ's security measures.
I don't see myself as a hero. I see myself as doing what needed to be done to take out the evil threat.
Today, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton praised the state's gun laws, which include a measure enacted this year that affirms the right of licensed handgun holders to carry a weapon in places of worship, unless the facility bans weapons.
We can't prevent every crazy person from pulling a gun, but we can be prepared like this church was.
Investigators, including the FBI, are still working to determine a motive for the gunman, but say he had been to the church several times before and was arrested in 2016 for unlawful possession of a weapon in New Jersey. His sister says she believes her brother went on a suicide mission. Romina Puga, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Still to come on RTV6 News at 7, civil rights icon Representative John Lewis is vowing to fight pancreatic cancer. We're taking a look at why this form of cancer takes so long to detect and how it's treated.
But first, why you might want to take a few minutes to read those privacy policy emails flooding your inbox.
Welcome back to RTV6 News at 7. You may have noticed a flurry of emails in your inbox over the last few days about the privacy policies of different companies and apps.
And those emails are all because of a new law going into effect in California. The law requires all companies that do business in the state to report on how they collect data and how customers can contact them over privacy concerns. People who live in California can also request that companies delete all the information collected about them.
Now, we can do that here in Indiana, but if you read the fine print in those emails, you can learn more about how you can opt out of data sharing. Well, facial recognition technology has been popping up in major airports. The TSA and U.S. Customs are testing out software, but one group says the technology needs some work to improve accuracy. The National Institute of Standards and Technology compared facial recognition systems from 99 different companies. They noticed across the board that minorities were misidentified more often than Caucasians. They saw the most false positives in Asian, African Americans, and certain Native groups. However, they say they're hopeful with so much competition, algorithms will continue to improve.
Coming up, why hairdressers are going through important training to help keep a close eye on the health of their customers.
And we're focused on the tumbling temperatures, how cold and for how long, and your New Year's Eve forecast. All those details coming up.
This is RTV6 News at 7, working for you.
Well, it took nearly 3 years and nearly $30 million, but one of the North Side's busiest intersections is actually an intersection no more. The 96th Street and Keystone Avenue interchange is now open for business. You can go down north and south on Keystone without having to stop at the once cumbersome stoplight at 96th. Instead of using exits and a roundabout to get onto that street, the intersection bordering between Indy and Carmel has been described as one of central Indiana's most dangerous.
Kevin Gregory joins us now with a look at the weather. Cold.
Yeah, we had a shift.
Oh.
Yeah, and it just gets us back to average for this time of year. And it's just, we've been way up here, and now here we are. The good news, 24 hours of relatively cold temperatures, and then we're back to the 50s by the end of the week. Okay, strong low pressure sits over Lake Superior. That's the reason for the very strong winds. As this pulls away, the wind will relax, but probably not until tomorrow night, and Wednesday will be much calmer. Also on the backside of this, the cold air obviously is flowing into the state. You can feel the big difference. There's some of the peak wind gusts through the afternoon. Vigo County, Terre Haute, nearly a 50-mile-per-hour wind. Obviously non-thunderstorm winds. If we have severe thunderstorms, a warning is issued when you get 58-mile-per-hour winds. As far as the flurries between Muncie and Newcastle, Mount Summit, maybe with some very light flurries. All this moving to the east then toward Jay County and Winchester and Portland, just north of Richmond. This whole area will rotate through the Great Lakes in the Midwest, bringing with it the chance for some very light snow during the day tomorrow, mainly morning into early afternoon. Then we'll start to move on and I think give us a dry New Year's Eve. 34 in Peru. We've been stuck at 36 here the last several hours in Indianapolis. With the cloud cover and the wind keeping things whipped up, we're not going to see much of a temperature change, at least in the short term. There's the wind. These are the steady winds, southwest 15 to 20 miles per hour. And of course, we've had the much higher gusts. Wind chill becomes a topic of conversation. That's why you'll bundle up, layer up, and the wind chill's going down into the teens through the overnight hours. The wind chill last hour in Peru was 19. Coldest day tomorrow within the 7-day forecast, and then you see the jump that we make as we get to New Year's Day, Thursday, Friday. Temperatures will peak in the 50s. With the temperature going up, our rain chances will increase as well. Then we crash down Saturday, cold enough for snow showers to return. We let the clock roll as we get to 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Some very light snow or snow showers northern third of the state. Those continue to move to the south and east. As far as the accumulation, you can see very, very light, under an inch expected, say, Lafayette to Indianapolis to around Greensburg northeast, the best chance for seeing some minor accumulations. Temperatures through the day tomorrow, coldest day that we'll have in the next week. If we get to 34, just above freezing, that's a good forecast number. The wind speeds again will be strong, gusting to 30 or above. Average temperatures this time of the year in the upper 30s. Tomorrow night, if you have big plans, should not be a challenge meteorologically. 32 at 8 o'clock. 30 as we get to midnight and welcome 2020. And as you look at temperatures on New Year's Day, the two big differences, more in the way of sunshine and temperatures above 40 degrees. Here's your 7-day planner. Over the next 7 days, temperatures peak Thursday and Friday. The rain chance comes up as well. 54 Friday, cold enough to change that to some snow and snow showers Saturday, as 37 will be the high.
I think last New Year's Eve, it was so blustery, it was tough to be outside even.
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
You had the IndyCar that would drop, and they changed that as well. The weather always messes things up.
Always. All right, thanks, Kevin, for that. U.S. Representative John Lewis says he will be back in Washington soon to start treatment for stage 4 pancreatic cancer. His office announced the diagnosis over the weekend. Pancreatic cancer is often diagnosed as stage 4 because it is hard to detect in routine checkups, and symptoms don't usually appear until it has spread. While there's no cure for the cancer at this stage, treatment options have come a long way in extending and improving a patient's quality of life. Risk factors include a family history of pancreatic cancer, smoking, and diabetes. Representative Lewis is a civil rights icon and serving his 17th term in Congress. He says this is just his latest fight.
Cancer is often detected in a doctor's office or hospital. When it comes to early detection, there's an entirely different army of workers being recruited to spot early signs of skin cancer. When you see who it is, you understand why it makes perfect sense.
There's certain patients that you'll never forget. And I remember him saying, you know, I was in Vietnam and I've been a firefighter in Boston, and I have never felt the pain and horror as going through this treatment.
When research nurse Sandy Alton talks about cancer, it's with pain and determination.
For this project, I'm passionate because melanoma has always been one of, the hardest to treat.
She learned about a unique training that teaches people about skin cancer. She wrote a grant and got unlimited access to free courses.
This is so smart. Health and beauty worlds can collide.
The video focuses on the one place that's often overlooked and teaching the one person that probably knows it best.
You're a hairdresser, and who sees the head of your client more than you do? Nobody.
This one is something I'd probably say to her, have you had this looked at?
Lisa Lowe Gaddis is Sandy's hairstylist. She took the melanoma course almost a year ago and has been keeping a closer eye on all her clients since.
I have had 2 little boys that came in and had something unusual, so I told the mother, and it turned out it wasn't anything serious, but they're still keeping an eye on it. So we took pictures, and that way every time I do their hair, I can look at it and make sure it hasn't changed.
1 in 5 Americans will develop skin cancer. Numbers are increasing every year, but there's a 98% chance of survival if caught early.
I have had so many run-ins with cancer, and if I can prevent it, I believe early detection is the key.
More than 11,000 hairstylists nationwide have taken the Eyes on Cancer course. The goal is to train 20,000 hairstylists by 2020.
They're like, wow, we could actually save a life. You absolutely could save a life.
Not only am I helping people feel good about their looks, but I can also help them stay healthy.
And that was Annie Taylor reporting. The goal is to get anyone to take this course and then tell their hairdresser to take it too. You can visit hairstylistmelanomachallenge.com to get the code to take it for free.
Still ahead here, some important details as you plan your New Year's Eve celebrations.
How you can get a ride home for free after partying, and what you might not know about the sparkling beverage filling your glass.
That's next, right here on RTV6.
Visit the Hiring Hoosiers job board.
Welcome back. Many people will raise a glass of bubbly to toast the new year tomorrow.
Before you do, it's a good time to brush up on exactly what you might be drinking. There are a few key differences between the most common bubbly drinks, Champagne and Prosecco. Champagne is only produced in the Champagne region of France, and it's made using what's called the classic method. That process is expensive, which is why Champagne is usually pricier than Prosecco. Prosecco is made in Italy and is produced using the tank method, which has fewer steps.
Fun facts to bring to your party tomorrow.
Right, so I'm saying.
I like it. And no matter what you're drinking on New Year's Eve, make sure you have a plan to get home safely. Indigo is offering free bus rides between 8 p.m. and 2 a.m. on any route in the city. And Lyft is offering $10 credits for the first 1,000 people who downloaded a special code. You can find a link to that code plus other details on free New Year's rides in this story in the RTV6 app.
We've got one more day left in the decade.
And dry tomorrow night.
All right, that'll do it for us here. We'll see you tonight at 11.